Do you think you're offering the best with the BARF diet? So you need to watch it until the end. Many dogs and cats are developing silent deficiencies because their owners have forgotten to include the right supplements in the right doses. In this video, we reveal the nutrients that almost no one talks about, but that are fundamental to the real health of your pet. Learn how to avoid the most common mistakes, how to set up a functional supplementation plan, and ensure longevity, immunity, and vitality for your dog or cat. Watch until the end. Your pet's health starts with what you put in the bowl. Subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and share it with those who really love pets. Natural food seems, at first glance, simple. Raw meat, bones, vegetables, and a little oil, and that's it. But this is precisely the mistake that thousands of owners make every day when starting the BARF diet for their dogs and cats. The appearance of a natural meal does not guarantee that it is complete. And behind a beautiful fur or a renewed initial energy, silent deficiencies may be forming that, in the long run, affect bones, vision, immunity, fertility, behavior, and even the life expectancy of the animal. Therefore, understanding the supplements that complete and balance the BARF diet is not a luxury. It is a necessity. One of the first common misconceptions is related to calcium. Many tutors believe that by offering fleshy bones, they are already guaranteeing the necessary supply of this mineral. But what few know is that the balance between calcium and phosphorus in the diet is even more important than the mere presence of one of them. Muscle meats are high in phosphorus and low in calcium. Bones, on the other hand, have calcium in abundance. However, if the animal does not chew and digest the bones properly, or if there is an excess or shortage of bones in the portion, the imbalance sets in. A dog or cat that consumes raw meat without the correct proportion of bones can develop hypocalcemia, a disorder that affects muscle contractions, balance, bone growth, and the nervous system. That's where calcium supplements come in. For owners who do not offer raw bones safely, options such as crushed eggshells, calcium carbonate, or irradiated bone meal can be used with nutritional guidance. The important thing is to maintain the proper ratio between calcium and phosphorus, usually close to 1:1 in cats, and between 1 to 1.5 to 2 for dogs, depending on the stage of life. Another nutrient that is often overlooked is zinc. Although it is present in some meats, its bioavailability is low, especially when the diet contains excess liver or vegetables with phytic acid, which inhibits absorption. Zinc deficiency can cause skin lesions, hair loss, healing problems, and even apathy. And as this symptom can be confused with other conditions, such as food allergies, it goes unnoticed. Therefore, some more experienced tutors resort to supplementation with zinc chelate, a highly bioavailable form, or with natural foods rich in this mineral, such as lamb meat, which should be offered in a balanced way. In cats, attention should be paid to taurine, an essential amino acid that, unlike dogs, is not produced in sufficient quantities by the feline body. Taurine deficiency can lead to irreversible blindness, heart problems, and reproductive failure. Raw meat does provide taurine, but its content decreases with prolonged freezing and overhandling. In addition, certain cuts, such as chicken breast, are relatively low in this compound. Therefore, many owners choose to include chicken hearts, fresh liver, or even specific supplements of taurine powder in the diet of cats. And when we talk about lipid balance, vitamin E is one of the most overlooked elements of the BARF diet. Many owners offer oils rich in essential fatty acids, such as fish oil, flaxseed oil, or coconut oil, without realizing that these oils increase the body's demand for vitamin E. Deficiency of this antioxidant can cause muscle degeneration, hemolytic anemia, and neurological damage, especially in cats. Therefore, whenever there is oil supplementation, the inclusion of natural vitamin E, such as D-alpha tocopherol, is indicated to avoid side effects in the medium and long term. Iodine, on the other hand, essential for thyroid function, is usually forgotten by those who completely eliminate processed foods from their diet. The iodized salt, common in feed, disappears when we move on to natural food. Alternatively, many owners use dried seaweed such as kelp, which offers iodine in small amounts but needs to be carefully dosed. Excess iodine is as dangerous as its absence and can cause hyperthyroidism, a delicate condition, especially in elderly cats. In addition, it is essential to observe vitamin D, which, unlike humans, is not synthesized by the skin of dogs and cats exposed to the sun. This means that they rely solely on food to obtain this nutrient. Lean meats and vegetables do not provide sufficient amounts of vitamin D, and it is necessary to include sources such as cod liver oil in controlled doses or specific supplements. The deficiency of this vitamin is associated with bone deformities, muscle weakness, and immune compromise. Another crucial but often overlooked nutrient is choline. This compound participates in liver function, memory, and fat metabolism. Dogs and cats fed a diet rich in protein and fat need a good intake of choline to avoid accumulation of fat in the liver, especially in obese cats or those who have gone through periods of fasting. Egg yolk is an excellent natural source of choline, but its dosage needs to be well adjusted to the eating plan. No less important is the group of B vitamins, which participate in dozens of cellular and metabolic functions. Although present in meat and offal, the loss of these vitamins through freezing, accidental cooking, or excessive storage time can compromise their effectiveness. The use of nutritional yeast, for example, is a practical and safe way to replace these vitamins, especially B12, essential for the synthesis of red blood cells and good neurological functioning. Finally, one of the most underrated elements in the BARF diet is manganese. It participates in the formation of cartilage and ligaments, and its deficiency can cause dysplasia, especially in growing puppies. Meaty bones contain little manganese, and so do most meats. Therefore, the inclusion of foods such as mussels, egg yolks, crushed pumpkin seeds in small amounts, or specific supplements is a strategy that can make the difference between a healthy adult dog and an animal with early joint problems. The key to a successful BARF diet is not just in the variety of meats or the elimination of industrialized ones. It lies in the deep understanding that a natural meal needs to be complete, balanced, and individualized. What works for a dog may be insufficient for a cat. What serves a puppy can be dangerous for an elderly person. And what looks healthy to human eyes can be lethal to a pet's metabolism. So knowing the forgotten nutrients and learning how and when to supplement them is the step that turns a well-meaning pet owner into a true guardian of their dog or cat's health. In the next block, we will explore how to put together a complete supplementation plan with practical dosages, accessible sources, and common mistakes that still generate confusion in the BARF community. Putting together a proper supplementation plan for dogs and cats following the BARF diet requires more than simply adding a handful of powders and capsules to their food. It requires knowledge of the specific physiology of each species, observation of individual feeding behavior, and, above all, respect for the animal's bio-individuality. Many owners fall into the trap of copying ready-made formulas from the internet, believing that the same list of supplements will work for a German Shepherd puppy and a senior cat with kidney failure. But the nutritional reality is much more delicate and requires fine-tuning and continuous. The first step in setting up this plan is to define the animal's profile. How old is he? Are you a puppy, adult, or elderly? Are you neutered? Do you practice intense physical activity, or are you more sedentary? Do you have any diagnosed medical conditions, such as allergies, obesity, osteoarthritis, or digestive problems? Each answer directly impacts nutritional needs and the types and dosages of supplements indicated. For example, a growing young dog needs an adequate supply of calcium, phosphorus, and manganese to form healthy bones and joints, while an older dog may need more antioxidants, collagen, and support for cognition and joints. After defining the profile, it is necessary to make a proportional adjustment of macronutrients. The BARF diet traditionally divides into about 70% muscle meat, 10% viscera, half liver, 10% fleshy bones, and 10% vegetables and other supplements. But this model is only a starting point. A small breed dog may have difficulty gnawing on bones, requiring adjustment with alternative sources of calcium. An obese cat, on the other hand, needs strict carbohydrate control and moderate lipid sources to avoid hepatic lipolysis. It is in this context that supplements come in as tools for correction and balance, and not as universal magic solutions. Let's now analyze and practice how to include the main supplements in the BARF routine, with a focus on safety, efficacy, and individualization. 1. Calcium. For dogs and cats that do not consume raw bones regularly or that are at risk of choking, the calcium supplement should be calculated based on the amount of phosphorus ingested. The ideal ratio is between 1 to 1 and half to 2 to 1 calcium to phosphorus. The use of finely ground eggshell without inner skin provides about 1,000 milligrams of calcium per level teaspoon. It can be sprinkled directly over the meal, but it must be ensured that the total phosphorus of the diet is mapped, especially if the tutor is using excessive red meat. 2. Zinc. Zinc deficiency is common in diets with a high presence of liver, fish, or vegetables. Supplementation must consider the weight of the animal. A dog weighing 10 kilograms can receive from 10 to 15 milligrams per day, while adult cats between 5 and 7 milligrams. The most recommended form is zinc chelate due to its superior absorption. Alternatively, meats such as lamb, chicken liver, and crushed pumpkin seeds in moderate doses can be included as a booster. 3. Taurine. Cats need taurine daily. Chicken heart is a rich source, but its amount varies depending on the cut and freshness. For safety, it is recommended to supplement between 2 and 500 milligrams per day, mixed with a meal, for adult cats. Dogs, although they produce taurine, may be deficient in diets with a high concentration of fiber or low digestibility. Breeds, such as Cocker Spaniel and Golden Retriever, have a genetic predisposition to deficiency and benefit from supplementation. Vitamin E. For every 1,000 milligrams of fish oil provided, you should include at least 5 to 10 milligrams of natural vitamin E, D-alpha tocopherol. Supplementation can be done 2 to 3 times a week in perforated capsules and mixed with food. This vitamin is fat-soluble, so its supply must be accompanied by sources of fat for effective absorption. Excess can generate accumulation, so the ideal is to alternate days and adjust according to the lipid source present in the diet. 5. Iodine. Kelp algae is the most common source. However, each gram of dried kelp can contain up to 1,000 micrograms of iodine, which can easily exceed the safe limit. Ideally, microdoses, usually 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon per week, depending on the size of the animal. For greater safety, some owners prefer to use culinary iodized salt in tiny amounts or resort to veterinary multivitamins that already contain balanced iodine. 6. Vitamin D. Vitamin D deficiency does not give immediate visible signs, but it harms bones, teeth, and immunity. Cod liver oil is one of the most widely used sources, with around 400 international units per teaspoon. It can be administered once to twice a week, depending on the base diet. In some cases, especially in senior cats or large dogs, the use of specific supplements with calibrated dosage is safer. 7. Choline. Egg yolk is the main natural source and should be given raw and fresh. A medium-sized dog can consume 1 to 2 yolks per week, while cats can receive half a yolk every other day. In cases of animals with a history of hepatic liposis, hepatitis, or cholangitis, the use of choline powder or in specific capsules may be indicated under professional guidance. 8. B complex. Nutritional yeast is a tasty and safe source to complement B vitamins. A teaspoon a day already meets most of the needs of adult dogs and cats. In addition, it improves the taste of the meal, facilitates digestion, and acts as immune support. In specific situations, such as animals recovering from illness, it may be necessary to reinforce with veterinary oral B-complex supplements. 9. Manganese. Green mussels, shellfish flour, or roasted and ground pumpkin seeds are natural sources. The use should be moderate, as the excess can interfere with the absorption of other minerals. The ideal dose is small. For medium-sized dogs, about 5 to 8 milligrams per day. Cats need even smaller amounts. In puppies, control is even stricter, as manganese directly affects the formation of articular cartilage. But the biggest mistake is still not the absence of one or another supplement. The biggest mistake is the lack of periodic evaluation and personalized adjustments. Supplementation is not something fixed and permanent. A cat that loses weight, a dog that changes its level of physical activity, or a pet that undergoes neutering will have its needs changed. And with that, the food plan must be revised. The enthusiasm to offer the best for dogs and cats often leads well-intentioned owners to make serious mistakes, especially when supplementing. After all, if the supplement is healthy, it doesn't hurt to give a little extra, right? Wrong. Excess nutrients can be just as dangerous as deficiency. And in the context of the BARF diet, where everything is done in an artisanal and personalized way, the risks of imbalance increase exponentially without a clear control structure. One of the most dangerous, and unfortunately common, mistakes is vitamin A overdosage. Because it is fat-soluble, it accumulates in the liver. Many owners believe that offering raw liver frequently is always beneficial, as it is a rich source of vitamins and minerals. But liver, especially beef or chicken, contains very high levels of vitamin A. When a dog or cat receives too much liver, for example, more than 5% of the weekly diet, it can develop hypervitaminosis A, which leads to joint problems, bone calcifications, back pain, lethargy, loss of appetite, and neurological changes. Another common mistake is to use human supplements indiscriminately. Many owners take omega-3 capsules, B-complex tablets, or multivitamins for human use and offer them to animals. But the metabolism of dogs and cats is different. Human supplements may contain toxic sweeteners such as xylitol, doses inappropriate for the size of the animal, or combinations of minerals that compete with each other, nullifying absorption. For example, a zinc supplement that also contains high doses of iron can cause antagonism between the two minerals, compromising the use of both. And speaking of antagonisms, a delicate point is the simultaneous use of calcium and iron in the same meal. These two minerals compete directly for absorption in the gut. When offered together, such as when mixing bone meal with red meat and egg yolks, for example, iron absorption can be drastically reduced, especially in cats, which have a more sensitive digestive tolerance. The recommendation is to separate the sources, offering calcium in one meal and iron-rich foods, such as liver and red meat, in another. The same logic applies to the use of antioxidant oils and vitamins. Offering large amounts of fish oil without balancing it with vitamin E can lead to pancreatitis. a painful inflammation of body fat, especially in cats. On the other hand, administering vitamin E in excess, or in synthetic forms, can cause an imbalance in the action of other natural antioxidants, such as selenium, present in eggs and seafood. The secret is in moderation and synergy, not in excess. Many tutors are also confused by the frequency of supplementation. The anxiety to nourish well causes vitamins and minerals to be offered every day, without pause, for weeks or months. But the pet's organism works by reserve and excretion. Nutrients such as the B complex and vitamin C are water-soluble and, when in excess, are eliminated, wasting supplements and money. Fat-soluble nutrients such as A, D, E, and K can accumulate in the liver and cause intoxication. Therefore, most supplements should be offered cyclically, alternately, or on strategic days, respecting the size and metabolism of the animal. Another critical point is the lack of veterinary follow-up. Although many tutors are increasingly informed, the absence of periodic exams can mask nutritional deficiencies or excesses. A pet that seems healthy may have low vitamin D levels or too much zinc or copper accumulation in the liver, a common condition in some breeds. The ideal is to perform blood and urine tests at least once a year, or every 6 months in animals with a clinical history. This allows you to adjust the diet and supplements in a scientific, safe, and personalized way. It is also important to mention the error of standardizing recipes. Many tutors make a model menu and repeat it for months without varying the sources of meat, offal, or complements, but each type of meat has a different nutrient profile. For example, chicken meat is low in iron and high in linoleic acid, while lamb is high in zinc and fattier. Variety in the diet isn't just taste, it's nutritional security, and consequently, the variation in supplements should also accompany this turnover. In practice, building a BARF diet with effective supplementation can be done with 3 main pillars. 1. Cyclical planning. Set up weekly menus with structured variations, alternate lean meats with red meats, intersperse different offals, and define which supplements go in on which days. This prevents accumulations and losses and favors metabolic balance. 2. Visual and behavioral control. Observe the pet carefully. Changes in fur, stool, mood, urine smell, or eating behavior are the first signs that something may be out of balance. A cat that avoids supplement food, a dog that scratches a lot after dietary changes, or a pet that begins to lose interest in meals may be giving clear signs that the dosage or type of supplement is wrong. 3. Record and review. Write down what was offered each day, what supplements were used, and how the animal reacted. This simple practice allows you to identify patterns, avoid dangerous repetitions, and adjust based on real evidence. It can be done in spreadsheets, apps, or even in a notebook dedicated to the pet's food plan. The BARF diet, when done right, is one of the greatest expressions of love and respect that an owner can offer. It is based on the animal's real biology, respects its carnivorous nature, and allows absolute control over everything that is ingested. But at the same time, it requires responsibility, study, and humility to understand that natural doesn't mean automatic, and that the right supplement in the right dose is what transforms a raw diet into true functional nutrition. If you want to go further, remember, nourishing is not just about feeding. It is about offering life, balance, and prevention every day. A well-nourished dog or cat is more than healthy. It is happy, stable, protected, and away from the silent problems that so many pets face without anyone noticing. That's the difference that starts at the bowl, but it echoes for a lifetime.